Blast your opponents off the court with the all-new plush yet powerful ProKennex Black Ace 300. As one of the main flagship options within this iconic family, the Black Ace 300 is well suited for those players looking for a comfortable hitting experience that still offers plenty of power and feel. The racket sports a 10.6 ounce or 300 gram unstrung weight, which is complemented by a relatively larger 100 square inch hoop, a spin-friendly 16x19 string pattern, and a maneuverable yet stable 4 points headlight balance when strung. This racket's flex or RA is delightfully low down at 55, ensuring massive amounts of comfort. The frame also sports a precise, constant box beam geometry of 21 millimeters and has an average swing weight of 324 when strung. The big storyline here is, of course, ProKennex's signature kinetic technology, which makes great use of moving particles within the frame at 3 and 9 o'clock for increased comfort, stability, and power access. For even more comfort, ProKennex uses a blend of their Aurealian carbon and a layup technology called FlexLogic, both of which allow for increased dwell time, ball pocketing, and overall plushness. Whether you love it or hate it, ProKennex's kinetic technology is certainly a unique hitting experience. As one of the only manufacturers with a secondary acceleration source within their rackets, I do think that there are some pros and cons to this experience. Overall, I do enjoy how the moving particles within the frame can sometimes give you additional power access, but sometimes the ball does launch to kingdom come. So depending on your stroke, your swing speed, your swing path, all of that, it can really have an effect on the kind of ball that you end up producing. For some players, this might prove to be an inconsistent or an erratic response. That being said, if you concentrate on keeping your motion easily repeatable and maybe a little bit more compact, I do think ProKennex frames have a lot to offer, especially in the realm of comfort. This frame was certainly that case. Lots of plush associations upon contact. Really enjoyed how this came through the ball, even against heavier pace. And I do think that this was one of those rackets where I actually preferred my one-hander over my two-hander. Felt like the lower launch angle for me personally didn't gel as much with like a flatter ball, so I preferred going for higher net clearance to bring the ball back down more easily. But pretty spin friendly, maybe not as much spin as I would have liked on the whole. That would be one of my knocks on this particular frame, especially for it being a 100-inch hoop and a 16x19. Usually thinking a little bit more spin from that particular combination of specs. But I really liked this racket up at net. That was probably my favorite experience with this. Volleying with this thing was super fun. Really liked how it absorbed pace and redirected it simultaneously. On serve, it was a little bit of a struggle for me. That was probably the hardest area for me on this particular playtest. Just didn't feel like the racket was super consistent and responsive above the shoulder. So that would definitely be something where if you're a little bit sensitive to rackets on the serve, just keep that in mind. But on the return, really enjoyed this frame. Super nice for blocking back heavy pace and decent depth as well overall. And then every now and then, if I gelled correctly on one of my shots, I feel like I could really just swing through the ball and deliver a heavy return.
As soon as I started hitting with this Black Ace 300 from the baseline, I could sense the flexible feel. I could really feel that racket bending. And I really enjoy that flexible feel from frames, so that was right in my wheelhouse. What also stood out was the kinetic technology. I could feel it as I was swinging through my ground strokes. I could feel the movable mass come through. And at times, this is when I ran into some trouble. There were times when I felt like I was just getting a little bit too much power, and I had trouble being consistent with the power and depth off of my ground strokes because I was not quite sure what to expect from the racket as it was coming through the swing and through the finish. I did really enjoy the comfort level here. Even when I was missing the sweet spot, I had no issues with discomfort. This racket is one of the most comfortable available, especially 300 grams. I also felt it was pretty stable considering how flexible it was. I also want to step back and talk about the kinetic technology just a little bit more. I did feel like because this racket is super flexible, you're not often going to expect it to be super powerful, but that kinetic technology did boost the power level for this Black Ace 300. Overall, for me, I was just having a hard time finding a rhythm and being consistent with this racket, but the comfort was a standout.
I think the key standout feature with this racket has got to be the comfort. That low 55 flex rating combined with the tried and true Kinetic System makes this one of the most arm-friendly rackets on the market. Now, once I got it on court, I did have some mixed feelings about it. I really enjoyed it on my backhand though, really enjoyed it on my slice, and my backhand is a bit more compact and I hit a flatter shot with it, and I felt like I was able to get really nice control on that side. But on my forehand, I hit a loopier, shot, a lot more topspin with it, and that's where I kind of felt it was a bit more erratic. It was tough to time, and I was having a tough time feeling where I was hitting it on the string bed. So I was launching it a bit long, and that surprised me at times. But I thought the access to spin was great from all areas of the court. I also felt like this update is a bit more stable compared to the previous version. So all in all, I thought this was a pretty user-friendly racket, and if you have any sort of arm issues, you're gonna really want to try this one out.
ProKennex has a really unique technology that you can hear and feel as soon as you pick up the racket, and I have plenty of experience with this as I've play tested many a ProKennex racket, so I knew what to expect when I got onto the court. And the first thing I found out was that it had a lot of power. It was a very powerful racket from the baseline and actually as well as other areas of the court. I had also had a pretty high launch angle, so I found my balls were landing pretty deep in the court. Now that kinetic technology does come into play here, and I was feeling it on my ground strokes at times when I was really swinging through that ball. I could feel those kinetic beads kind of clumping at the tip of the racket and then really accelerating through. And this had me launching the ball at times, so sometimes the racket was a little too powerful and I had to kind of dial it back. Another thing ProKennex is known for is their comfort, and I did find this Black Ace 300 to be very comfortable. Now, it wasn't the most super plush feeling, but I didn't have any arm pain or any issues in that area. Now, when it came to maneuverability and stability, I kind of struggled with it. I didn't find it to be the most maneuverable racket, but I also didn't find it to be the most stable racket. So it kind of felt in between there, didn't really do one well or the other. That being said, my favorite shot to hit with this racket was the return to serve. I think mostly because I was able to keep my stroke compact and short and really able to go after the ball and had no fears of it kind of flying. Overall, I think that the specs are right in my wheelhouse and I like that element of it, but I didn't just fully gel with it. However, fans of previous versions of this ProKennex racket should have no problem transitioning. We strung up the ProKennex Black Ace 300 with Vocal Cyclone at 52 pounds. For more information on this racket or any others, please check us out at Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, or Tennis Only.